Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a great weekend. Hope you are having an awesome Sunday. In this video, we're going to continue to break down Thanksgiving week. It's intriguing me a lot. I'm very interested in the pattern potential setting up for Thanksgiving week. We're also going to talk about the weather this week and what could happen, what would likely happen. We're in the range now where we pretty much know what's going to happen this week. So we're going to talk about that too here in the now term, but long term, as it gets its way into the medium term, which will happen throughout the week this week as we get closer into the week after this coming week, which would be Thanksgiving week, we're starting to eyeball a pattern that we could have something called a negative NAO that sets up. Potentially, it's still pretty far out, but what that would mean is a cold air intrusion or potentially an Arctic air mass that drops down to the lower 48, in particular the eastern U.S., which is the weather I normally cover. So we're going to break that down because it's interesting. I'm not seeing some kind of concrete solution when we know or think there's going to be some kind of major winter storm or major storm system. But what we are starting to get a little bit more confidence in is the fact that there's going to potentially be a cold Thanksgiving for potentially everybody in the eastern U.S. So that's really what we're going to talk about. And this could be pretty significant cold air. Way too far out to know if there's going to be any kind of record-breaking cold weather, but we're going to talk about that and break this thing down for you guys. So if you guys have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me. Very excited going forward here. I make videos every single day. I try to keep y'all updated even when it's kind of slow out there, but we're about to enter the winter months, and it's going to be fun just talking winter weather for you guys. That's my favorite thing to talk about, even though I'm from the South and hardly ever get to see any kind of snow. My girls are begging for snow, and trust me, guys, I'm not even bringing it up. So it puts a smile to my face that they're bringing up snow, but at the same time, it's kind of disappointing that unless I unfortunately have to drive, there's always going to be a low chance of happening here. And then I don't know about you guys, but it's just not the same when you have to drive to it. It hits a lot better when it's snowing in your own backyard, and it's a lot more fun. But anyways, guys, like the video if you like it. Subscribe. And you got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments. And definitely will pray for you. And I promise you there's other people in these in the comments that will also pray for you. We got a good family unit here. So let's get going here. So what we got is I'm going to just start off with a bang. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you guys the European model run, which was very aggressive. With the potential cold for Thanksgiving week. So while we're going through here, we're also going to show this coming week and then, next weekend. So going through in time, the Monday, as far as high temperatures, still very chilly across the Ohio Valley and Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Pretty chilly day even for portions of the Southeast compared to average, but it's warming on up in the South Central U.S. Texas is very warm. More temperatures typical of early October and October in general, and basically the more west you go, the more warmer it is. Basically this trough axis is shifting on east, so the cooler weather is to the east. That's pretty much how it works. Getting to Tuesday, very chilly morning across the eastern U.S. just in general, 40s, 30s. Go further up, it's in the 20s. We're getting into Wednesday morning, another chilly morning, but you can tell you're starting to lose that trough-influenced cold air, and high pressure starting to go on and move off to the east here. To the northeast, here. But then already by midweek, you're starting to watch another cold front as it moves through. But ahead of the cold front, you're going to have a southeast, or southwest flow bringing in warm temperatures. So areas where it's snowing right now in Ohio, it's going to be in the 60s, potentially near 70. Where it's snowing today. So warmer air is basically rushing in from the south ahead of this next cold front as we're getting into Thursday. High temperatures will get all the way into the 60s, maybe as far north as Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, maybe even Maine, as warm air continues to surge ahead of this cold front. But notice high temperatures in Tennessee, Mississippi, Ohio Valley, Midwest, very, very chilly, below normal temperatures as this next cold front delivers what looks to be another chilly weekend. But I can't talk right. By the time you make it to your Friday morning, it's a pretty chilly morning across the entire eastern U.S. But this front will have the chance to teeter back and forth as far as the timing. But Friday, very chilly day across the eastern U.S. Very chilly. If you're having a hard time seeing these numbers, I do apologize. Fortunately, this is finally in 1080, so It's a little bit more clear than it was in my videos prior that was in 720, but basically what you're seeing here is as you're getting into the weekend, 60s and 70s, 50s and 60s in the south, 40s in the Midwest, and then 30s and 40s for highs as you get into your Saturday of next weekend. But we're starting to get, later in November, starting to get inch closer to December. So, high temperatures compared to average begin to drop as we get deeper, obviously, into the end of the year. But, then we start to get into next week. And this is, this is the big question mark. So it's kind of still far out. It's about 8 to 9 days out. But as far as Monday, high temperatures. These are high temperatures Monday. High temperatures in the teens in Minnesota, 20s in Iowa. And this is a big-time cold air mass beginning to drop down from Canada. And these are high temperatures next Monday. For, first weekday of Thanksgiving week. Some people take the whole week off. Some people are traveling. But this is high temperatures potentially, guys. In the Ohio Valley in the 20s. There might be some kind of storm system around. Who knows? 40s in the south. And as this cold air continues to sink south, we get into Tuesday morning. And, the south is very cold, below freezing. It's in the 50s as far south as Miami, which is very cold for this time of the year. That's cold any time of the year down there. 20s and 30s in the southeast for low temperatures. And then you only warm up. These are potential. I'm saying potential a million times because it's so far out. Potential high temperatures as far as Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, which is the 23rd. Highs only in the 30s in Tennessee and Kentucky. This is going to moderate a lot. It's not going to stay like this, but you can tell this is a big-time Arctic air mass shooting down. 40s everywhere else. 40s for highs, maybe in North Florida. So the reason I'm showing you this is because this is model. Basically, the models are trending towards a colder scenario for Thanksgiving week. This is potential Wednesday morning temperatures the day before Thanksgiving, where a lot of people will be traveling. It is basically the entire eastern U.S. is basically froze up. It's showing mid 30s, making it all the way down to the southern tip. Not as far southern, but basically the middle areas of Florida. And then everybody else is froze up. The mountains in the teens, 20s for lows. Obviously you see the numbers. These aren't dew points. These are temperatures. But this is 240 hours out, guys. So it's 10 days out. A lot of time to work this out. Now it's the GFS. We're going to scan through this a lot quicker because we spent a lot of time on that. But as we get into our Wednesday, look how warm it is. Same thing, all the way 60s, all the way up into the Ohio Valley. Getting into our Thursday, very warm. But you can tell where the front is. 40s and then 60s and 70s. You can see what the boundary is. You get into Friday. Front moves through where we pretty much know this cold front's going to happen. We've been eyeballing it even before the last cold front that moves through. As we get into the weekend, it could be quite chilly. Another morning, maybe Saturday morning, 30s and 40s in the south, well below freezing in areas in the interior areas of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. As far as high temperatures Saturday, could be a very chilly day for college football. We'll see how low the temperatures get, but it's going to be, next weekend's going to kind of be like this weekend. But look up here. These are high temperature Sunday. Here comes the cold air about to drop down. And you can tell, even the GFS is here. It's not quite as aggressive, and we're about to show you that. But these are high temperatures. This is very chilly, even for this time of the year up here in the Midwest, upper Midwest. But these cold air begins to drop south, and these are potential high temperatures as we get into our Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. But this is pretty far out, guys. But 30s in the Ohio Valley, very chilly air. So moving forward here, we're starting to get into Wednesday, which is the day before Thanksgiving, and it's different here than the Euro. The Euro has the coldest air by far right in this area. But what happens with the GFS, and this is 10 days out, is the GFS moderates temperatures and reloads another Arctic air mass here as you get into the weekend after Thanksgiving. So there's a lot to figure out. One thing I will say is the National Weather Service, which goes through basically the entire week of Thanksgiving, 22nd to the 28th of November, has the entire eastern U.S. predicted to be below average temperatures. So they're seeing it. We're seeing it. It's looking like it's going to be below average temperatures. Now, as far as troughing, the cooler colors are basically symbolize cold fronts, and then the warmer anomalies, which are the reds and oranges, is basically ridging. So normally when you have a ridge in place, normally you have above average temperatures. So going forward here, you will notice here comes another cold front. This is our cold front for this coming weekend. This moves through. But you notice this front really doesn't have an Arctic origin from it, a real true cold air source. It's just a normal cold front dropping through. Now I want you to watch this. Watch this right here. Do you see these heightened areas where you have higher heights? This is basically a ridge of high pressure blocking that could potentially set up right here over Greenland. We call this a negative NAO. And basically, it's basically when you just have ridging in the North Atlantic and then troughing in the eastern U.S. This is normally the pattern you get when you have a nor'eastern or a big-time East Coast storm. This is the pattern you normally have when you have an Arctic air mass that can sometimes drop down into the eastern U.S. Now, not always. Sometimes the Pacific messes that all up, and not all the players are at bay right here for us to have really cold air or a storm system. Sometimes you have a storm system, but the cold air source really isn't cold enough for a widespread winter storm really far south. So I'm not saying we're going to have a winter storm Thanksgiving week. I'm not saying that. Am I saying there could be a storm system? There could be, definitely. But this is a strong signal for what we call a negative NAO. If you know a little bit about weather, you know that normally when you hear about the term negative NAO, that normally means there's a favorable pattern in the eastern U.S. for cold and stormy weather. Not necessarily a major winter storm, but cold and above average precipitation potentially. So this is a strong signal. You got cold air source dropping in, and then basically the European has basically an Arctic air, I wouldn't say an outbreak, but Arctic air mass dropping into the lower 48 in the eastern U.S. You know, you look at this is the GEFS ensembles. This was the operational European model. But look at, and I meant to have the EPS ensembles up there, but I guess I clicked the European. But you know, you look at the GEFS, which is the GFS ensembles. You show the cold front set up here, but here you go. You have a little bit of blocking in the North Atlantic, and there it goes. You have a negative NAO setting up. So you see this wholesale trough digging into the eastern U.S. It's not just kind of like a fleeting trough or, almost like a cutoff low. This is a big-time cold front that brings in cold air all the way from Canada. And when you get that, that's normally when you get your true cold air source. And sometimes when you can link up a storm, when you have the trough digging like this, the jet streams lagging way down here. So if you can get any kind of pulse or system that develops along the jet stream, sometimes it can flow through the jet stream and there could be a storm system that rises to eastern U.S. Depending on how cold the air could be. This is the pattern you really watch out for in January and February for the southeast. As far as the southeast getting snow, but really anywhere from late November to March, this is a good pattern for areas depending on where you are in the mid-Atlantic and definitely in the northeast. So I guess the next thing you have to watch out for is there going to be some kind of system around. Well, if we're looking at the European potential compared to average, here comes our front this weekend. This moves through below average temperatures in the eastern U.S., but here comes the big dog, according to the latest European, cold air mass dropping in, and this brings in well below average. I'm talking potentially 20 to 25 degrees below average in places, and for this time of the year, that's quite cold. I mean, that's freezing cold. So if this happens, then you're going to have areas as far south as Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, with highs and maybe a couple of days with highs in the 40s and lows in the 20s or 30s, which is very cold for even late November. It's not crazy unheard of, but it's cold. And normally you have to watch out for some kind of system around. So as far as a system, as far as precipitation for this time frame, you look at the operational European run, it brings that cold front through with it, maybe some rain, maybe some interior snow, nothing crazy or unheard of. But with the Arctic air mass that starts to set up as you get into early Thanksgiving week, here it comes, a little bit of snow with it. Is there going to be some kind of system? Well, the European likes some kind of system in the Ohio Valley with rain changing to snow kind of scenario. Will there be some kind of low pressure that develops off the northeast? Who knows? But this definitely shows a lot of snow for areas of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, the interior Northeast, and even as far south as the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. So it's going to be interesting. You know, an event like this would probably pop off a northwest flow event for maybe the mountains, because normally this is what happens when you have a strong cold front coming in from the northwest into the southeast. Sometimes the northwest flow events can kick in with Arctic air even then. But we'll watch this. You see that 32-degree line, though, all the way into North Florida. So that's telling you, just like we just showed the temperature output, this is some very cold air potential. You look at the GFS as far as precipitation, here it comes. This front this weekend will probably pop off them lake effect snow bands off Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, you know, Lake Erie. This moves through. Temperatures may moderate a little bit beginning of Thanksgiving week. But, you know, here you see them blue lines. That tells us here comes the cold air. But here you go. That trough is dropping down. Will some kind of system link up here? Will something develop right here? Or will this just be moisture associated with a cold front? But the GFS shows something kind of different, with temperatures moderate around Thanksgiving, and then maybe a colder air mass brings in. But this gets really, really far out. So that's all I got, guys. That's a long video. But I think we're going to start to see some crazy model runs for Thanksgiving week. I really do, with cold air looking more and more likely. How cold? That's the huge question mark. Will there be some kind of storm system? That's even a bigger question mark. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a great start to your work week. And God bless all y'all.